The planet screamed beneath his boots. Flames tore through the steel floor. The sky above wasn't a sky anymore. It was fire and smoke and falling debris. Red emergency lights flashed inside the broken facility, painting shadows over the crushed bodies. Alarms howled like dying animals. Sirens blared in languages Rylan didn't speak. Every sound meant one thing: get out or die. Captain Rylan Cole ran fast, breathing heavy, his armor cracked and bloodied. Acid rain hissed on his shoulders. He wasn't sure how much of the blood was his. He didn't care. He just needed to move. The extraction point was 1 kilometer north, across broken bridges and burning tunnels. His squad was already gone. They had left 5 minutes ago, left him when the floor collapsed. When he called for help, he heard only silence in his earpiece. Then, static. "I'm not dead yet," he growled. "I'm not staying here." The ground shook again, another quake. This planet, called Orzax Prime, was never meant for human boots. It was a prison world, built by the enemy species, the Kasari. But when the war turned, the humans stormed the planet, trying to break the enemy's command center. They found only chaos. The Kasari had turned their own base into a death trap. Now, everyone human and alien was trying to escape before the planet swallowed them. Rylan reached the outer tunnel gate. Half of it had melted. He ducked under twisted steel beams, his breath ragged. Heat licked at his skin even inside the suit. He had 15 minutes before the last shuttle left orbit. He stepped into the main chamber. Fires danced on every wall. And then he heard it, a voice, not human, a weak, cracked whisper. It came from under a pile of metal crates and support beams. He froze. No, not now. But the sound came again. A faint, broken breath. A groan. Curse words filled his mind, but he walked toward the noise. Something was buried under the debris. He pushed aside hot metal, ignoring the pain in his fingers. When he peeled back the final layer, he stopped, eyes wide. Lying half-conscious, bleeding from a head wound and crushed under a beam, was Commander Jarak of the Kasari Empire, the enemy's top strategist. The one responsible for the orbital strikes over Europa 7, the one who had given orders that killed thousands. Rylan should have killed him on sight. Instead, he just stared. Jarak's 4 black eyes blinked slowly, one covered in blood. His deep blue skin was burned in patches. One of his arms was twisted at a wrong angle. The alien was broken. "Why are you still alive?" Rylan whispered. Jarak gave a coughing laugh. "You ask same question I did about you." The ground shook again. More debris fell nearby. Fire burst from a crack behind Rylan. He could hear his own heartbeat pounding. He turned his back, walked 3 steps toward the exit, then stopped. Something twisted in his gut. He remembered his brother. Killed in the early days of the war. Left behind by his squad. Found later, burned alive under rubble. Rylan had stood over the remains, swearing to himself, "No one gets left behind. Not again. Not if I can help it." He looked back at zhe-rack.enemy.murderer.alive.barely. And helpless. Rylan. Curse it again. Louder this time. Damn you. Then he walked back. He dropped his rifle, jammed both hands under the beam, and lifted with everything he had. His legs screamed. His back cracked. But the metal moved. Jarak gasped as the weight lifted. He didn't fight. He couldn't. Rylan pulled him free. "I should leave you." Jarak coughed again. "Then, why don't you?" "Because I'm an idiot." Rylan threw the alien's arm over his shoulder. He could feel the pain in his side growing worse. Probably cracked ribs. He couldn't stop now. He moved forward again, this time slower, heavier. Carrying not just a body, but a question. The tunnel ahead roared with fire. The ceiling sagged. The entire structure was moments from falling apart. But he didn't stop. Every step was war. They reached the first collapsed hallway. Too narrow. For both of them. Raylan dropped Jarak gently, then climbed over the wreckage. On the other side, he reached back and pulled the alien through. Jarak groaned, nearly unconscious. His body was shaking. "You better not die on me now," Raylan muttered. "Not after all this." More steps. Another explosion. The floor cracked beneath them. And suddenly, it gave way. They fell. 10 meters down into blackness. Raylan landed hard on his back. His head hit metal. Everything went white. Then dark. He woke to silence and pain and heat. He blinked. The fires above cast faint orange light through the cracks. The place smelled like smoke and melting wires. He sat up slowly. Jarak lay a few feet away, still breathing, but barely still alive. Somehow, Raylan checked his wrist console. Cracked, no signal. No GPS. He looked around. They had landed in a lower level, some kind of maintenance shaft. Long and narrow, the only way out was forward. He looked at the alien again. What the hell am I doing? He didn't have the answer. But he couldn't. Leave. They moved forward, crawling now. The heat got worse. The air was thick and sharp, like breathing knives. Raylan gave Jarak the last emergency filter from his pack. He didn't think about it. He just did it. After a few minutes, Jarak spoke again. "You know, your kind is insane. Yeah, we get that a lot. You could have escaped. You had time. Why come back?" Raylan didn't answer right away. Then he said quietly, "Because you're alive. And I've seen enough people die." They reached a vertical shaft. A maintenance ladder led upward, to who knew where. Raylan secured a rope, tied it around Jarak's chest, and began climbing with the alien dangling beneath. It was slow. Painful. His arms trembled with every pull. The heat made his head spin. He didn't stop at the top. He kicked open a hatch. Fresh air hit him like a wave of ice. It wasn't clean, but it wasn't death either. They were out. Sort of. The sky above was still fire. But somewhere, in the distance, a human shuttle flew across the clouds. Still evacuating. Still time. Maybe. Raylan dragged Jarak into the open. The wind blew hot ash across the broken ground. Fires burned in every direction. Jarak opened one eye. "You could leave me now. No one would know." Raylan looked down at him. "I'd know." Then he heard a roar. Not of fire, but of metal twisting. The mountain behind him began to crumble. One last time, Raylan threw the alien over his shoulder and ran toward the falling sky. Smoke covered the sky like a heavy blanket. Raylan walked through the ruins of a war zone with Jarak's body over his shoulder. His legs burned. His lungs ached. The planet groaned with each passing second. Explosions still echoed in the distance. The ground cracked with heat. He didn't stop. The shuttle would leave soon. Maybe 5 minutes. Maybe less. He checked the emergency signal beacon on his belt. Still dead. The fall had broken it. No comms. No GPS. No help. Only him, and the enemy commander he refused to let die. They moved through a twisted metal passageway. Broken walls let in waves of heat. A collapsed ceiling blocked the main road. Raylan turned down a smaller hallway, hoping it led around, but it didn't. He found himself standing at the edge of a broken floor. Below them, 10 meters of blackness. A lower tunnel. Jarak groaned. His eyes fluttered open. "Still carrying me," he muttered. "Still alive, aren't you?" Raylan answered. Jarak coughed. His body trembled. "You humans are strange." Raylan looked around. No ladder. No steps. He wrapped a cable from his gear around a pipe above, tied it to Jarak's waist, and lowered him slowly into the darkness. Then he slid down after him. The tunnel below was narrow and hot. Steam hissed from broken pipes. Sparks flew from damaged circuits. The walls trembled. A small maintenance sign in alien script blinked above them. Raylan couldn't read it, but the meaning was clear. Danger, toxic air, restricted zone. Jarak coughed violently, clutching his chest. Rylan knelt beside him. "You okay?" Jarak gave a weak smile. "This air is poison to me." Raylan opened his pack and pulled out the only working oxygen mask he had left. He looked at it. Then at the alien. Without a word, he placed the mask over Jarak's face. Jarak stared at him in shock. "You'll die." Raylan shook his head. "Not yet." He tore a piece of cloth and tied it around his nose and mouth. It wouldn't stop the poison, but it might slow it down. They moved again. Rylan helped Jarak crawl forward. The air burned his throat. Every breath was like breathing fire. After 30 meters, the tunnel narrowed even more. They had to crawl. Pipes surrounded them. The walls groaned as the planet shifted again. A loud boom sounded behind them. The passage collapsed, trapping them inside. Rylan didn't stop. He pulled Jarak behind him, one arm dragging, the other pushing himself forward. His vision blurred. His chest screamed, but he kept moving. Finally, the tunnel opened into a small control room. Emergency lights flickered. Screens glowed with alien symbols. A broken window showed a view of the burning horizon. The air here was clearer. Not good, but not deadly. Rylan collapsed to the floor, coughing hard. Blood stained the cloth over his mouth. Jarak sat beside him, silent for a moment. Then softly he said, "You gave me your air." "Why?" Rylan wiped his mouth. "Because I don't want to become like the people who left me behind." Jarak's voice was quiet. "You were left too?" Rylan nodded. "My brother died in the second year of the war. Trapped behind enemy lines, his squad left him. Said it was too dangerous to go back." He looked at the floor. "They were right, but I never forgot." Jarak didn't speak, but something in his eyes changed. They rested for 10 minutes. Then Raylan stood again, breathing hard. "Come on," he said. "We're getting out of here." He opened the next door. Instant heat blasted his face. They had entered an old power core chamber, half destroyed by the battle. The floor was cracked. Lava-like energy flowed below. The bridge across was gone. Only a thin beam of metal stretched. Across the gap, Raylan looked down. If he fell, it was over. He turned to Jarak. "Can you hold on to my back?" Jarak hesitated, then nodded. Slowly, carefully. Raylan stepped onto the beam with the alien on his back. Every step was a gamble. The heat burned through his boots. His balance shook. Halfway across, the beam groaned. It shifted. Raylan froze. Sweat dripped down his face. His fingers trembled. Jarak whispered, "You can do this." Raylan took one more step, then another. And finally, he jumped the last meter onto solid ground. They made it. Raylan fell to his knees, gasping. Jarak looked down at him. "You just carried me through a burning death trap. You realize we're enemies, right?" Rylan gave a tired smile. "Not today, we're not." They reached another hallway, this one with broken windows showing the sky. And in the sky, a human shuttle. Rylan saw it. His heart jumped. Still flying. Still hope. He checked his wrist. No signal. No time to wait. They had to find the launch tower. But then something moved in the dark. A shadow. Then a sound. Metal scraping. Something crawled from behind a wall. Something large. A scavenger drone. Old Kexari tech. Designed to clean the battlefield. To collect bodies. It scanned them. Red light blinked. And it attacked. Rylan threw himself forward, shielding Jarak. The drone fired a cable, wrapping around Rylan's arm. Electricity surged through his body. He screamed. Jarak grabbed a broken pipe from the ground. With his good arm, he swung. The pipe cracked the drone's lens. Raylan pulled his knife and stabbed upward. The drone sparked, screamed, and died. Raylan collapsed again. Panting, Jarak looked at him with something close to surprise. "You protected me. You hit that thing pretty hard yourself." The alien almost smiled. They reached the base of the launch tower. Above them, The shuttle was ... The lift was broken. The stairs were gone, only a series of metal support beams remained half-melted. Barely holding together, Ryland stared up. He was barely standing. Jarak couldn't walk. There was only one way. "I'm going to climb," Ryland said, "and carry you up." Jarak looked at him. "You'll die," Ryland shrugged. "You said that already." He tied Jarak to his back. Again, tight. Secure. Then began to climb. Every pull was pain. His hands bled. His arms shook. But he climbed. Higher and higher. Past broken platforms. Past smoking engines. The wind howled around them. The tower groaned. The shuttle engines warmed up, leaving soon. No time. At the final ledge, Ryland pulled himself over. He lay there, gasping. Jarak still alive. The docking bay door stood ahead. He staggered toward it. And then stopped. It was locked. He pounded on the door. Nothing. He slammed his fist. No answer. Finally, he fell to his knees, but before he passed out, he hit the emergency override on the side panel, and the door opened. Two human soldiers stood there, their rifles raised. One shouted, "Drop the alien!" Ryland didn't move. "He comes with me," he said, voice like gravel. The soldiers stared. Jarak was unconscious now, barely breathing. Ryland stepped forward. "He's not just an enemy," he said. "He's someone I saved. And if we leave him behind, what's the point of any of this?" The silence stretched. Then, slowly, one soldier lowered his rifle. "Get him inside." They entered the shuttle. The engines roared. The door closed behind them. The planet below burned. But Ryland and Jarak were alive together. The shuttle shook as it broke through Orzax Prime's toxic atmosphere. Ryland sat in the medbay. Blood still dried on his skin. His hands were blistered. His ribs were cracked. The medbot had given him an injection to numb the pain, but nothing could numb what he had seen down there. Next to him lay the Kaksari. Commander-ZHE Rack. Still alive. Barely. Machines beeped around the alien. A human doctor stood nearby, clearly unsure whether to save or finish the job. But Ryland had made it clear. He stays alive, or you answer to me. The shuttle crew didn't argue again. They had all seen the footage. The helmet cam showed Ryland carrying Jarak through fire, drones, and collapsing ruins. Some thought he was mad. Others whispered a different word: hero. The ship docked at the outer base station, Orion Outpost 9, orbiting the edge of human territory. The outpost was old, but strong. Built during the Second War, it had thick walls and better silence than comfort. No windows. Just lights, steel, and duty. The moment they arrived, Ryland was taken to be questioned. He sat in a gray metal room. 3 high-ranking officers stood before him. General Harper, Admiral Sato, and Commander Lennox. Harper spoke first. "You disobeyed orders. You abandoned your mission. And you risked your life to save the most wanted Kaksari war criminal alive." Ryland didn't blink. "I did what I had to do." Admiral Sato leaned forward. "He's responsible for Europa 7. You know how many lives were lost?" "I know," Ryland said. "That's why I didn't kill him. He was already dying, but I chose something different." Lennox crossed his arms. "What if he escapes? What if he attacks again?" Ryland stood slowly. "Then I'll stop him. But I'd rather be the man who showed mercy than the one who left someone to die." Silence filled the room. Then Harper sighed. "You're off active duty until further review. Stay on the station. Do not leave." Ryland nodded once. He turned to the door and Cole. Harper added. Ryland looked back. "You better be right about him." Jarak recovered slowly. The alien's body had deep burns, shattered bones, and internal damage. Human medicine was not made for Kaksari bodies, but the doctors tried their best. Some of them did it just to see if it was possible. Jarak never spoke to them. He only waited until Ryland entered the room, and only then did he speak. One night, 2 weeks later, Raylan walked into the medbay. The lights were dim. The station outside was quiet. Jarak looked up. He still couldn't move much, but his eyes had changed. No longer full of hate. More curious. "You're still here," he said. "Yeah," Raylan replied. "No one wants to share a beer with me these days." Jarak made a strange sound. A mix of a breath and a grunt. It was a laugh. "Strange creatures," Jarak said. "Humans risk death, and then they sit in silence." Raylan smirked. "We do talk. Just not to people who almost killed us." "I didn't almost kill you," Jarak replied. "Not personally, that's comforting." They both stared at the floor for a moment. Then Jarak said, "I have a question." "Shoot, why didn't you let me burn?" Raylan leaned back in the chair. "I saw someone burn once. My brother. He was abandoned. Trapped. No one went back. It haunted me, still does." He looked up at Jarak. "And when I found you under that steel, I didn't see a monster. I saw someone who'd been left. Like him." Jarak was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "My own soldiers tried to kill me too." Raylan looked surprised. "They thought I had failed. I stayed back to delay the humans, to protect the escape. My second-in-command locked the doors and left me behind." "That's cold," Raylan said. "It was logical," Jarak replied. "But it hurt more than logic could explain." They were quiet again. Then Raylan asked, "So what now?" Jarak looked at him carefully. "I think I know. Longer no." 2 days later, the station lights flickered. An alarm sounded. "Security alert. Sector 6. Unknown entry detected." Raylan grabbed his gear and ran toward the command center. Admiral Sato stood by the display screen. "3 Kasari ships just entered our zone. Not official military. Pirates, most likely. Looking for something." Raylan stared at the screen. One ship looked different. It was marked with Jarak's crest. "They're here for him," Raylan said. Sato nodded. "They tracked the shuttle footage. Think he's weak. They want him gone. What's the plan?" "They're breaking into the old lower decks. No life support down there. They'll try to cut power and escape with him." Raylan turned to leave. Sato grabbed his arm. "You're not active duty." "Stop me," Raylan said. Then he ran. Lower decks were cold, dark, and silent. The air was thin. Raylan wore a breathing mask and moved through the tight steel hallways. He heard footsteps. Voices. Alien. Speech. He counted 5. He moved faster. In the medbay, Jarak heard the alert. The machines beeped louder. The door was locked, but the walls were thin. He reached for the 4 in his arm, pulled it out. Stood up with pain. But stood. He walked slowly to the door and waited. The Kaksari pirates cut the lock with a plasma blade. Door opened. They stepped in. And stopped. Jarak was standing, one eye burned. One arm hung limp. But he stood tall. The leader stepped forward. "Commander Jarak, you are no longer needed. You have become soft." Jarak tilted his head. "So you came to kill me?" "Yes." Jarak smiled. "Then let's finish this the right way." He stepped forward. The pirate raised his weapon and was shot in the side. Raylan appeared in the doorway. 1 clean shot. Then another. Then hand dash to dash hand. 2 more aliens charged. Raylan fought like a madman. No weapon, now just fists and broken steel. He dropped one with a knee to the jaw. The second grabbed him. But Jarak, yes. Even wounded, smashed a tray across its head. The last pirate ran. Raylan tackled him. Silence. 5 minutes later, the lights returned. Security arrived. The pirates were dead or tied. Jarak sat on the medbay floor, breathing heavy. Raylan sat next to him. They were covered in blood, mostly not their own. Jarak said, "I see now. You don't fight for power." "No," Raylan replied. "We fight for people." Jarak nodded slowly. "I think I would like to learn that." Later that night, the news spread across human and Kaxari systems. The footage of Rylan and Jirak fighting side by side went viral. Some called it fake, some called it madness, but others, on both sides, called it hope. In a small room aboard Orion Outpost 9, two former enemies sat in silence. The stars outside didn't speak, but in the quiet, something had changed, not just in the galaxy, but in them. The training deck was quiet until the alarms blared again. Red lights flashed over steel walls. Voices shouted through intercoms. Soldiers grabbed rifles. Technicians ran toward the control room. But this time, the threat wasn't from outside. It was already inside. Sector 12 containment breached. Unknown bioform loose. Possible genetic weapon. That's what the warning said. But what Rylan saw on the screen made his stomach drop. The creature didn't look like a pirate, soldier, or drone. It was something else. A failed weapon from the early Kaxari Wars. A Phase 12 predator beast. Tall as 3 men. Born from DNA mixed with desert wolves, lava snakes, and deep-crust burrowers. Banned by both sides, supposedly extinct, supposedly. The station was on lockdown. Security robots failed to stop the creature. It tore them apart in seconds. The blast. Doors didn't slow it down either. Claws like plasma blades. Armor too thick for rifles. It didn't follow sound or light. It tracked heat, movement, and fear. And it was heading toward the prisoner bay. Where Jirak was still recovering. Rylan moved fast. He didn't wait for orders. He didn't carry weapons. They were useless against this thing. Instead, he reached for old tricks, primitive ones. He ripped cloth into wraps for his arms, poured freezing gel on his skin to lower body heat, covered himself with black dust from the repair room to block thermal scent. He took off his shirt, tied it around a steel pipe, and walked into the emergency tunnel. Naked from the waist up, bare feet. No helmet. Just one man. Walking into darkness, Jirak watched the security feed. He saw Rylan walking down the hallway alone toward the creature, and for the first time since the war began, he feared for a human. Not because of hate, not because of battle, but because he didn't want him to die. The tunnel was silent now. No alarms, no voices. Just Rylan, breathing slowly, carefully, each step precise. He could feel the heat around the corner. It was close. The creature's low growl echoed through metal walls. Rylan crouched, waited. Then it appeared. First the claw dragging, sparks across the floor. Then the mouth wide, lined with shifting teeth, glowing like fire. Then the eyes, 6 of them, scanning the corridor. It smelled for blood, for movement. Rylan didn't breathe. He didn't blink. Then dash without warning. The creature charged. But Rylan didn't run. He moved sideways, fast and low, sliding under the beast's swing. It crashed into the wall, roaring. Rylan rolled and grabbed the pipe he'd hidden behind a vent. He struck the beast in the knee joint. Nothing. He ducked as it turned. He smashed the elbow. Still nothing. Its body was built to ignore pain. Rylan moved again, this time toward the ceiling. Vent system. He climbed fast, the beast chasing close. In the control room, the officers watched the screen. General Harper clenched her jaw. He's going to die. Jirak said nothing, but his fists were tight. Then the camera blinked, and they lost the feed. Inside the vents, Rylan crawled like an animal. The beast behind him tore metal like paper. Sparks flew. Rylan led it through narrow shafts, forcing it to break walls and overheat. He had a plan, not to kill it, but to burn it from the inside. He reached the core vent chamber. Inside, a backup coolant tank, boiling on the outside, frozen nitrogen on the inside. He grabbed the release valve. The beast entered behind him. Roaring. Charging. Rylan kicked the valve open. Boom! A cloud of freezing gas filled the room. Rylan dropped to the floor, holding his breath. The beast walked through the fog, confused. Its sensors couldn't read anything now. Ryland stayed low, moved slow and reached the electrical panel. He yanked the wires. The sparks flew, hit the gas and the beast screamed as its own body temperature turned against it. The fire didn't kill it, but it slowed it down. Now it limped, bleeding, weakened. Raylan came out of the smoke like a shadow. Burned, bruised, bleeding, still standing. He walked straight toward the beast. It turned its head, and for the first time, it stepped back. Rylan roared and jumped. He wrapped his arms around its neck and pulled. The beast slammed into the wall, trying to shake him off, but Rylan didn't let go. He drove a steel spike into its eye, then another. The beast fell, one knee, then both. Then silence. Rylan stood above the body, chest heaving. Smoke all around. He didn't smile. He just looked down and said, "You should have stayed extinct." Later, Jerac visited the tunnel. He looked at the body of the creature, then at Raylan, half conscious, wrapped in bandages, sitting on the floor. "You didn't have to do that," Jerac said. "I know," Raylan whispered. Jerac stepped closer. "I think your people are far more dangerous than mine ever understood." Raylan gave a small laugh. "Tell your friends." Jerac knelt beside him, then slowly placed a hand on Rylan's shoulder. "You are not like us, but I think maybe that's the point." That night, the officers gathered. They asked Rylan what he needed. He said only one thing: let him walk free. He's not our enemy anymore. And so, for the first time in recorded war history, a human soldier vouched for a Kuksari war commander. The galaxy didn't understand, but it watched very closely. In the following days, reports of strange peace talks began. Both sides claimed it was a rumor, but some said it started in the dark, with one human and one enemy who stood together when everything tried to kill them. The air was thick with smoke and ash. The sky burned orange as the dying sun faded behind thick clouds. Orzak's Prime was no longer a planet, it was a graveyard. Cracks of fire split the ground like veins. The ruins of war stretched as far as the eye could see. Rylan's boots pressed hard on the cracked earth. Every step was a fight against pain and exhaustion. His side throbbed sharply, a reminder of broken ribs and broken promises. On his back, strapped tightly, was the broken figure of Commander Jerac. The shuttle had dropped them off near the base of the final launch tower, their last hope. The towering structure rose above them like a giant skeleton, blackened and scorched. It was old, battered by time and battle, but it still stood like a last gate to survival. Rylan stared up, knowing what waited above. The gate, the door to the shuttle leaving orbit, closing fast. Behind them, the planet trembled. Small earthquakes rattled the ground. Smoke plumes rose in the distance. The rescue ship's engine roared from above, waiting. Counting down, Rylan checked his watch. 10 minutes left. He swallowed hard and adjusted Jerac's weight. "We have to move." Jerac, eyes half closed, nodded faintly. They stepped forward through a narrow corridor leading to the tower's base. The ground was littered with debris. Broken cables sparked here and there. The heat pressed down like a heavy weight. Rylan carried Jerac with a strange mix of anger, duty, and something he didn't want to admit, hope. As they reached the tower, a sudden rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ruined walls. Something large moved. Nearby, Raylan froze. A low growl echoed from the shadows. Then it appeared. A massive sand reaper, a native beast of Orzak's. Prime. Tall and lean, covered in thick scales that shimmered like polished stone. With eyes glowing yellow in the dark. It was a hunter, a killer, and it was blocking their path. The beast snarled, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Rylan tightened his grip on Jerac. He had no weapon, only his fists and will. The Sand Reaper advanced, claws scraping the ground. Rylan's mind raced. Fight? Run? Neither was an option. He remembered the last time he faced death naked and unarmed. He dropped Gerak gently to the ground. The alien groaned but stayed still. Rylan turned to face the beast. The Sand Reaper lunged. Rylan dodged. Rolling on the hot ground, he stood and grabbed a long metal rod from the debris. The beast charged. Again, Rylan swung the rod with all his strength. The rod shattered against the creature's thick scales. Rylan's hands burned from the impact. Sand Reaper snarled. Stepping closer, Rylan's breath came hard. He looked around for another weapon. Nothing. Only broken metal and scorched earth. The beast moved fast. He knew he couldn't keep this up. Then, something inside him snapped. He ripped off his shirt. The fabric fell to the ground. His bare skin glistened with sweat and dust. The Sand Reaper paused. Rylan's muscles tensed. He ran forward. The beast charged. Rylan didn't fight with weapons. He fought with his body. He ducked under claws. He dodged bites. He struck the creature with punches and kicks. His skin took hits, scrapes, cuts, burns. But he didn't stop. The battle was raw. No armor. No guns. Just man and beast. Rylan moved like water, fast, flowing, unstoppable. He jumped, rolled, struck again. The Sand Reaper growled in frustration. It could not understand. Finally, Rylan saw his chance. The beast lunged with its massive jaws. Rylan caught its head. He squeezed with all his strength. The creature struggled. Rylan's arms burned. He pulled a jagged piece of metal from the ground. With a shout, he drove it into the beast's eye. The Sand Reaper roared and collapsed. Rylan gasped, chest heaving. He stood over the fallen creature, his skin scratched and bleeding. He looked down. "I'm not afraid of you," he said. Behind him, Gerak struggled to stand. "You fight like a storm," the alien whispered. Rylan smiled faintly. "Not a storm yet." They continued to the tower entrance. The huge metal door was closing. Lights blinked red. A timer counted down. 5:12. Rylan ran. He pushed through the door just as it was about to seal. Inside was a long corridor leading to the shuttle launch bay. Floor shook. Rylan staggered forward. Gerak leaned on him. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut. Alarms blared. A voice echoed through the halls. "Unauthorized access. Lockdown initiated." Rylan's heart pounded. They were trapped. They moved quickly down the vile corridor. Rylan searched for the control panel. He found it near a heavy steel gate. The gate separated them from the shuttle bay. The panel was damaged. Sparks flew. Rylan worked fast, fingers fumbling with broken wires. Gerak helped, guiding him. Time was running out. The timer ticked down. 3:45. The shuttle engines roared louder. The ship was ready to launch. Rylan's hands moved faster. Then the panel sparked violently. Smoke filled the air. Rylan coughed. He didn't stop. Finally, with a hiss and a clank, the gate began to rise. The way to the shuttle was clear. Rylan helped Gerak stand. They moved through the opening gate. The shuttle bay was empty except for the rescue ship. Its engines glowed orange. Rylan stepped forward. Gerak leaned heavily on him. Suddenly, soldiers appeared, rifles raised. "Stop!" one shouted. Rylan raised his hands. "They come with me." The soldiers hesitated. Gerak looked at Rylan. The alien nodded slowly. Rylan stepped onto the shuttle. The engines powered up. The bay doors closed. Rylan watched Orzak's prime fall away beneath them. He held Gerak's hand tightly. The war was not over, but something had changed. The shuttle hummed softly as it moved through the blackness of space. Rylan lay on a medbed, his body bruised and broken. His ribs ached with every breath. His muscles screamed with pain. His skin was pale under the harsh white lights, yet his mind was sharp. Focused. Determined. Gerak sat beside him, still weak but recovering. The alien's many eyes watched Rylan closely. They were silent for a long time. Neither spoke. Rylan's thoughts drifted back to Orzak's prime. To the fire, the pain, the weight of carrying his enemy through death. He remembered. Every step, every second, every choice. A sudden beep broke the silence. The medbot entered, checking Ryland's vitals. Patient stable. It said in a robotic voice. Ryland's eyes opened slowly. Gerak smiled faintly. Days passed. Ryland grew stronger. Still, every movement was a battle. He pushed through. For himself. For Gerak. One afternoon, the shuttle alarm sounded. The crew rushed to the command deck. Ryland was helped there. The screen showed an unknown ship approaching. Hostile. Ryland single quotes S-Heart. Quicken. The war was not over. The ship fired warning shots. The shuttle shook. Ryland gritted his teeth. He had to stand. He had to fight. Ryland stood with support. He looked at Gerak. The alien nodded. They were ready. Together. The shuttle crew prepared weapons. Ryland took a plasma rifle in his hands. It felt heavy. Unfamiliar. The enemy ship fired again. Missiles streaked through space. The shuttle dodged. Ryland aimed carefully. The enemy ship's hull cracked. It lost power. The crew cheered softly. Ryland lowered the rifle. Gerak stepped beside him. You fought well, he said. Ryland smiled faintly. We fight for survival. Later in the shuttle's common room, Ryland and Gerak talked. Their voices were low. Why did you save me? Gerak asked. Ryland looked away. Because someone once saved me. Gerak nodded. Then we are bound by more than war. Their conversations grew deeper. They shared stories of their worlds, their losses, their hopes. Ryland found himself respecting the alien, not as an enemy, but as a person. Gerak admitted his own doubts. I do not know if peace is possible. Ryland said, maybe it starts with small steps. The shuttle neared the human space station, Haven Station, a safe place. A chance for both to heal. The crew prepared for docking. Ryland looked at the stars outside. The war was far from over, but something new was beginning. At Haven Station, Ryland was ordered to stay in quarantine. Gerak was confined as well. They were kept apart, but neither forgot the bond they had formed. Days later, Ryland received a message from Admiral Sato. Your actions are under review. Ryland sighed. Whatever happens, I did what I believed was right. Gerak's medical team approached him. We want to understand you, they said. He nodded. Perhaps one day, understanding will lead to peace. Ryland and Gerak both faced uncertain futures, but their connection was real. A bridge between two species. One evening, Ryland stood by the window. He watched the stars twinkle. He whispered, this war must end. Gerak, in his quarters, looked at a small human trinket, a reminder of a choice made in the fire. Their stories were far from over, but the first step had been taken. The lights of Haven Station flickered above Ryland's head. He stood in the middle of a quiet corridor, staring at the reinforced window. Stars blinked in the distance, like silent watchers, but his mind was not on the stars. It was on a choice. Hard one, a final one. Behind the walls of the station, people whispered. Soldiers, officers, doctors. Some praised him. Some called him a traitor. He had carried his enemy out of fire, saved him, protected him. Now everyone waited to see what he would do next. Gerak was kept in a secured room. Not a prison, but not freedom either. His species, the Vrelians, had sent a message. A threat. Return the war criminal, the message said, or suffer. Ryland heard those words again and again in his head. Admiral Sato stood across from him now, her face hard but not unkind. You know what they're asking, Ryland? He nodded slowly. They want him dead. And Earth Command. He asked quietly. She hesitated. That was rare for her. They're listening to the council. They might give him up. Ryland clenched his fists. After all this? After everything? We survived? She looked at him directly. This isn't just about one alien anymore. It's about peace or war. You started something. But now it's out of your hands. Ryland shook his head. No, I carried him out of hell. I won't hand him over to burn again. Sato raised an eyebrow. Then what will you do? Raylan didn't answer, not yet. He left the room, his heart pounding. His body still ached from the burns, the bruises, the pain of that firestorm. But something in him had grown stronger too. His will. He visited Jirak that night. The alien sat silently, his arms resting in his lap. His deep eyes met Rylan's as the door closed behind them. You heard? Rylan asked. Jirak nodded once. I will not run, he said. If my people want me dead, let them do it cleanly. Rylan frowned. You just give up? Jirak looked away. I have done terrible things, killed innocents. Followed orders. Maybe death is justice. Raylan sat across from him. You did what your leaders told you. I did the same. So did every soldier in this war. But something changed. When we were trapped together, you changed. I saw it. There was silence, then slowly Jirak spoke. Because of you. Rylan stood. We can't undo what we did. But maybe we can stop others from making the same mistake. Jirak looked confused. What are you saying? I'm saying, come with me. The next morning, alarms rang through the station. A Vralian warship had jumped into the system. It hovered near Haven Station. Weapons charged. The message was simple. Return Jirak in 12 hours. Or face destruction. Panic spread. Officers shouted. Troops ran. Everyone looked to Admiral Sato, and she looked to Rylan. You have 6 hours, she said. Do whatever it is you're planning, but make it count. Raylan and Jirak walked into the central command chamber. All eyes turned to them. Rylan took a deep breath. Then, he began to speak. I'm not here to protect a war criminal. I'm here to show you what happens when enemies stop killing and start talking. I carry him out of fire because I saw something I never expected. Hope. Whispers rose. He kept going. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. He accepted death. But I didn't. Because if one soldier can change, maybe 1,000 can. Maybe 1,000,000. He looked around the room. Give him up and we throw away everything we fought for. Admiral Sato remained silent, but her eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Later that day, Raylan sent a message to the Vralian warship. He stood in front of the camera. Jirak beside him. This is Raylan Voss of Earth. I carried your general from fire because I believed he deserved another chance. If you kill him now, you destroy that chance. He paused. You want justice. So do we. Let us meet. Talk. Face to face. He waited. 1 hour. 2. Then the Vralian ship responded. A small shuttle arrived from the warship. Single figure stepped out. Tall, armored, with dark, unreadable eyes. High Commander Varric, Jirak's former superior. The same man who had sent Jirak to his death. They met in a quiet chamber. Rylan, Jirak, Varric, and Admiral Sato. The air was heavy. I see you survived. General, Varric said coldly. Jirak stood tall. Because a human chose mercy. Raylan spoke. This war will never end if we keep throwing each other into fire. Varric looked at him. You expect me to believe one act of kindness changes everything? No, Rylan said. But it starts something. There was a long silence. Finally, Varric turned to Jirak. You are no longer one of us. But I will not take your life today. He left without another word. Raylan and Jirak stood there, stunned. Admiral Sato smiled faintly. Maybe that's how peace begins. Weeks passed. Jirak was allowed to live on Haven Station under close watch. He started sharing knowledge about Vralian strategy, not to hurt them, but to build bridges. Rylan was cleared of charges, and something rare happened across the stars. The fighting slowed. Not everywhere. But in small places. Was a start. One day, Jirak stood beside Rylan at the outer deck, watching the stars again. I should have died on Orzak's Prime, Rylan nodded. But you didn't. Jirak turned to him, and because of that, I have a second life. Raylan smiled. Then let's use it right. The galaxy still burned in places. Warships still patrolled. But now, people whispered the story of a human who carried his enemy through hell, not to kill him, but to save him. A soldier with broken bones, heavy steps and a burning will. One choice had changed everything. And in the silence between stars, that choice echoed louder than war. End of story.